Welcome to Keto Life Support, where we make your keto life sustainable, fun, and low stress. I'm Kim Howerton, and I'll be coming to you weekly with some of my keto besties to bring you the practical, real-world keto advice that you need. Quick disclaimer, I am not a doctor, and even if we do have a doctor in the house from time to time, he or she is not your doctor, and nothing we say on this show should be taken as medical advice. Always check in with a trusted medical professional about your own personal medical concerns. Hey, and welcome to this week's Keto Life Support. This is Kim Howerton, your host, and this is show number 51. So today, I want to talk to you a little bit about something that's been on my mind. I just started another round of a course I teach called Keto Unstuck. Hopefully that doesn't require too much explanation. It's designed specifically for people who've been keto for a while and they're stuck, which is they're not seeing the kind of progress they think they should be seeing. In fact, most of them joining the program seem to be seeing no progress. And when I say progress, they usually mean in terms of losing body fat, even if they still have excess body fat to lose. This program actually started as something I needed myself, right? Physician, heal thyself. Not that I'm a physician, but anyway, I digress. You know, we often start with something we needed and then we bring it to other people when we figure some things out. And so that's how this course actually began, in my investigation of what I needed to get unstuck. Not that I want to go on forever with this story. I'm sure most of you who've been paying attention have heard it, but I found incredible success in terms of both health gains and fat loss going keto, but then found that I wasn't able to achieve the ultimate body fat percentage range that I really wanted to. And so I had to find another way. And so what happened for me was I went on an investigation. Well, first I went through some depression, right? And then I went on an investigation. And one of the things that I found really helped me came from some discussions that I had with my good friend, Robert Sikes. And I've actually done a podcast about this topic a bit with Robert on it. And one of the things that was sort of integral to my success really was taking some time away from trying to lose body fat. I know that sounds insane, right? I mean, if you're like me, you've been on some type of diet your entire adult life, because it feels like when you have more body fat than you want, when you feel like a fat person, you feel like your primary job, I mean, ahead of everything else, is that you should be thinner. And if you don't feel like that, you know, bless you. That is awesome. But for me, and for a lot of people like me, you know, my first thought in the morning was, you know, am I going to lose weight? And my last thought before bed was that I needed to lose weight. And it consumed me for a very long time, feeling incredibly unacceptable and unhappy and all the uns in the world. And so when I found keto and everything seemed to work for the first time in this way that like gave me hope that I'd never felt. And then I stalled. I couldn't lose any more weight. I didn't know what was wrong. It was very, very disheartening. And I lost hope again. You know, in hindsight, one of the things that keto brought me that changed my life more than anything else was it let me have hope again. Because, you know, when you're somebody that really, really struggles with their weight and really, really struggles with their health, you start to feel powerless to control it or fix it. I felt like I was at the mercy of this and that I couldn't figure out how to get out from under it. And then going keto, seeing that my efforts, my actions seemed to have results, that I would do something, I would take some action, and then there would be an outcome. And it was somehow tied to my actions. It felt incredible. And I felt hope in a way that I hadn't really, I don't know that I'd ever felt hope like that. And so when I stalled for a very long time and then I started to regain, and I kind of went down a spiral where I was losing hope and feeling pretty defeated, and it was really demoralizing. I felt betrayed by keto. I felt betrayed. It sounds crazy, but that's the only way I could say it. It's like I believed in keto, and then what's going on? And, I would say to myself in sane moments, like, you haven't regained all the weight. You haven't even regained much weight. You still have a lot of health gains that you weren't experiencing before. Like, I can make you a list. My gratitude list was still long. It wasn't something where, everything went completely down the toilet again. It wasn't at all like that. But in those moments when, once upon a time when I started keto, I would change a thing and there would be a result. Action, result, right? Now it was like action. Is this thing even on? Does this thing even work? What is going on? And I tried more fat, less fat, more protein, less protein. I tried more fasting, less fasting. Back and forth and up and down. And what do I do? And more extreme. And like nothing was really working. And so, it was during a bit of a talk with a good friend of mine, Robert Sikes, that, he was talking to me about reverse dieting. I did an episode with Robert on this. Just look back in the old podcast episodes. I don't remember which number it is. In the show notes, I'll put the number in. But if you look for Robert Sikes, you'll find it in my podcasts. Robert is a bodybuilder. There's a concept in the bodybuilding community of reverse dieting. And that's after you've been on an extreme diet, an extreme, what they would call a cut or a reduction, right? When you're trying to lose body fat. One of my clients the other day said, I was saying cut and she said it sounded violent. It just means to cut body fat. After you do that and you get pretty extreme, you can't stay down there. You have to work your way back up. And so this reversing back out of a big deficit. And, he kind of brought this concept to my attention and I thought, well, that's really interesting. But, I've been told all along that your metabolism does not have any negative impact when you're keto, that, even if you're not eating very much on keto, your metabolism will stay strong. And, I was like, why do I think that? Well, because people told me. And then I told other people. And I'm like, do we just think this because we tell each other this thing? This doesn't seem real. And then, I did some research and lo and behold, in fact, keto will not save you from something called adaptation. By the way, I'm going to be talking more and more about this subject because I think it's really important. But adaptation, metabolic adaptation, it is just a thing. It's not a thing anyone can actually avoid. Adaptation is simply the act of your body keeping you alive. When you eat less and less and less, your metabolism adapts to function on less and less and less. And so one of the things that I found I had to do was go through a period of time where I reversed out of my deficit and ate more for a while and took my attention off of losing weight. And I have to say, I really think that was the longest period of time in my entire life that I didn't have the intention that I would lose weight. Now, there are certainly times in my life where I took no action that would cause fat loss, right? And there were certainly times when I didn't eat in a way that I ever, in a reasonable frame of mind, would think I'll get on the scale and the number will be lower tomorrow after what I did today. But I certainly would have loved a miracle to have occurred and lost weight. And then this time I was like, this is not my goal. I'm not trying to lose weight right now. I'm trying to be healthy. I'm trying to live. I'm trying to take my attention off of this thing that's been driving me insane. And so I did. I spent a year trying not to lose weight. Not even not trying to lose weight, but trying not to. And reversing out of what I'd done, even on keto. I was very healthy. I wasn't unhealthy. I'd adapted my body to function on not much food. It wasn't like I was starving myself in that I didn't experience a lot of hunger, but I was not eating enough for, my height, my muscle mass, my lifestyle, and I suffered the consequences. This is not to say, we will get, I say we like there's more of me. I will get haters who'll be like, all you need is a calorie deficit to lose body fat and that should work forever. And see, I have now managed to adopt a point of view where I'm going to get haters from the CISO people, the calorie people. I'm also going to get haters from the calories don't count people because I'm now right like in the middle of that whole situation. So stay with me for more drama, but I digress. So I had to spend this year, the reverse itself wasn't a year, but I had to basically spend a year not focused on losing body fat and focused on getting my metabolic rate adapted in the other direction, adapted to a higher food intake, adapted to what one might call more like maintenance, right? I like to call it home base. And at a point about a year ago, I was like, you know what? I feel ready. I feel ready to do this. And I changed the way that I ate again. Still keto, low carb. I'm a little more liberal with the carbs than I used to be, but very healthy keto type foods. And I was eating more. I had been eating more protein over the past year, and then the year before that year. That gets confusing, people. And then I continued to increase that. And but then I dropped how much fat I ate a little bit and saw, what kind of results can I get here? And it was like off to the races. It was like the thing that used to work, the thing that stopped working, the thing that felt broken, the thing where I felt no hope, like it worked again. My actions led to results, and it was amazing. It was amazing, because I felt in some level of control again, right? And that is an amazing change for someone who spent most of their life feeling out of control about their body. And so why am I telling you this story yet again? Well, this came up in that I've just started this round of my Keto Unstuck course, and I got everybody's first intake in where I asked them, what have you been, I have them track what they're eating for a week and then turn it in so that I know and what are their macros. And I have to tell you that there are amazing people in this group, and they did a good job of tracking and giving me information. And there are so many of them eating like not even 1,200 calories, like 1,000 calories a day. And I know the calorie word is kind of triggering for many of us, but it's a unit of measure. But it's essentially telling you that these people, they are not eating much. And my options here are to either treat them sort of like, the mainstream doctors and trainers might treat them and say, well, I just can't believe that you're eating that little and not losing any weight. That's crazy talk. But, what am I going to believe? Well, I'm going to believe these women who are telling me, no, this is actually what I track. This is actually what I'm eating. I'm going to believe my client who did 3 weeks of a protein-sparing modified fast, I will get into that later, eating less than, I think, 600 calories a day over that period of time, didn't lose a pound, even though she's working out 5 days a week. Like, I'm going to believe these people. I'm not going to look these diligent women in the face and call them liars just because it doesn't fall into some calculator where they should lose body fat. Something else is going on. And these are not people new to keto. So the question is, what has happened? And what I think has happened is adaptation, metabolic adaptation, which is they just kept feeding their body not enough. And eventually, over time, your body adapts because your body is trying to save you from starvation. And so now these women have a much longer road to get to their goal because we've got to reverse this damage. And I say damage, a lot of people will say my metabolism is broken. Your metabolism isn't broken. Actually, this is a sign that your metabolism is working exactly as it should. It's keeping you alive. It's making sure you have enough energy to get what you need. Essentially, your metabolism is a banker or an accountant. Let's go with accountant. Your metabolism is an accountant. And they know what your budget is, and they're going to keep the lights on. So they're going to say like, well, we probably don't need that new sweater. And, we can't afford cable. But, it's like they're going to distribute the funds that you have. And if you don't give them very much to work with, they're going to be very miserly, but they're going to make sure the lights stay on. And so one of the things that gets adjusted is your metabolic rate. So that means you are now essentially going to lose less and less and less weight as you eat less and less and less. It's crazy, but it's true. You can look up metabolic adaptation and you'll see information on it. Now, mostly it's people in like the bodybuilding space that are talking about this fact, and I don't see it talked about enough in the ketogenic space. And so I want to make sure it gets out there because it was a pivotal concept for me to understand to lose the 30 pounds that I needed to lose this year and to continue to lose the next 15 that I'd like to get to my goal. And so why am I bringing this up? Well, because one, you have to be really honest with yourself. And if you're not tracking and you're not seeing the results you want, I would actually suggest that you track, not to tell you you're eating too much, but actually maybe to tell you you're eating too little. Now, some people get up in my grill and say like, Kim, that's crazy talk. Like, I can't lose body fat by eating more and more and more. That's not actually what I'm saying. I'm not actually saying that as soon as you start eating more, you'll drop that body fat like crazy. No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying you have to do this in cycles. You have to make sure that you're treating your body well, and that, yes, you can put your attention on fat loss for periods of time, but then you have to take your attention off of it. And I have to say, last year was the year before last year. So the year that I took off from more extreme attempts to lose body fat constantly was an incredibly valuable experience, because it's the first time I actually gave myself my own blessing and permission to not feel like I had to struggle. And instead I got to like truly nourish myself and have a chance to feel like kind of like a human instead of a dieting machine. And so, I really encourage all of you who have spent any number of months, years, sort of bashing your head against a brick wall in terms of not seeing any fat loss, to really look at, could this be an issue of overly aggressive metabolic adaptation that has kind of tanked your energy expenditure allotment? So that's what I wanted to come to talk to you about today, was to make sure you're eating enough, and also to maybe make it so that there are periods of time in your life that being healthy and happy and nourished and sleeping well and having good hormones and like all of that becomes your priority, and fat loss can go on the back burner for a while. Because I think by going through different periods in your life, it's not to say that you'll never concentrate on fat loss again, but I think we need to shift our focus. And I'm excited about the next phase for me, where my focus is now going to be on trying to add a little bit more muscle before I go through another round of trying to lose a little more body fat. So that's crazy talk, but my goal actually is to see the scale go up for a little while, not with fat gain, mind you, but with muscle gain. And so that's a new world for me, and I'm excited to join it. So I hope this was helpful. I will be doing more talks and interviews. Robert and his wife Crystal and I are planning to get together and talk about this topic as well, because they see it quite a bit. And I want to make sure that people in my world are happy and healthy and fit and enjoying life and not constantly eating less and less. Oh, there was one thing I wanted to mention that I forgot until right now, which is, in recent months, one of the things that has gotten very, very popular, myself included, right? I've talked about it, is a higher protein approach with lower fat, right? That's what helped me lose quite a bit of body weight. But I'm not going to live like that every day, every month, every year. It's not enough food. When I go down to 60 grams of fat a day and 120 grams of protein and 30 grams of carbs, right? Like, that's fine for my body for a while. But if I try to just continually live that way, I'm going to see fewer and fewer and fewer gains, as in benefits. I'm going to see that is just not enough fuel for my body long term. And so I have to go through periods where I might be at that point, and then I'm going to go up from there. So again, that periodization, different strokes for different folks at different times. And so one of the things that as higher protein, lower fat has gotten really, really popular, and rightly so, in that I think it's actually a very effective approach for a lot of people who haven't been finding fat loss as much as they want to. It can shift things up and restart some loss for some people, and or show them the kind of progress they haven't seen before. At the same time, when you take that approach, higher protein, lower fat is fairly stingy on the calories. And so again, you have to be aware of potential long-term adaptive issues, which is a good thing. I mean, that's what your body's designed to do. As I said, it's not a broken metabolism. It is a well-functioning metabolism, that does this for you. And so you have to be aware that you can't just eat less and less and less and less. You have to make sure you're really well nourished over time, and that your body can totally handle short periods of time where you might be in a more restrictive cycle, but you cannot live there. That cannot be your home base. You need to go back up to come back down. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful to you. And if you have questions about it, please let me know. As I said, There'll be more on this topic, but it's been on my mind, especially since like this week, I got in all of those assessment results from my clients and thought, oh dear, we actually, I think, have a pretty big problem. It wasn't like one or two of them. It was, I think, the majority of them. So it felt timely and it felt like something you should be aware of. And if you have more questions about them, please shoot them my way and we'll try and maybe do like a Q&A show. Okay, guys, take care. Talk to you next week. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Keto Life Support. Want more information? Want show notes? Want to suggest a topic? Just head over to ketolifesupport.com. That's where all that kind of thing can go on. By the way, I have a request. If you could go to your podcast host and hit subscribe, we would really, really appreciate it. And what would be even more awesome is if you could write a review. And what would be even more awesome than that is if you could write like a really flattering review. Just asking, you do you. All right. So thanks so much for joining us. I'm thrilled that you're part of the Keto fam. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.